Hey guys, it's Kevin again. This is my review for Pretty Little Liars Season 5, Episode 3, Surfing the Aftershocks. And wow, this episode was just wow. I mean, it was really, really big. By far the best episode so far. And you know what? I'm really enjoying this because last year what happened was we had two really good episodes and then one's not so good episode, and then they continue to get worse and worse as it went on. I don't think that's happening with the season because this episode was by far the best out of all of them, and I really enjoyed this episode a lot. I thought it was really awesome. Really sad, actually, especially with the alley stuff. I like the flashbacks in this episode as well. We don't get usually this many flashbacks in an episode, and I like that we got quite a few flashbacks in this episode because we don't usually get that. So yeah, this episode is definitely very, very good, and this episode mainly deals with the idea of loss. The idea of loss and the idea of change. That's really what this season's all about, what this episode and this season primarily is all about. Let's first get to this episode, though. So, we see, so as we know, at the end of last episode, Allie found out that Mrs. De Laurentiis, her mother, is dead, and she is laying in a room for days on end. She's refusing to talk to anyone. It's really sad, and she's just not talking to anyone. She's just sitting there. She's not eating, she's not drinking, she's not going to school, she's not going outside with her friends. She's just laying there. Like, she's crushed by this. She doesn't want to do anything because of this. And the day of Mrs. De Laurentiis' funeral arrives. Hanna offers to help Allie get dressed, but she tells her to go downstairs and she'll be down in minutes. And downstairs, Kenneth is lecturing Jason, and he tells him there better not be any cops or press. And Allie comes downstairs in a black dress, and Kenneth flips out on her, tells her to go change, and Allie cries that she just wants to wear her mom's dress. And after Kenneth and Jason storm out, Spencer explains to Allie that the dress she is wearing is the same one that Mrs. De Laurentiis wore to her funeral, which is really sad. I mean, her dad really doesn't want to remember those memories, so that's why he doesn't want her to wear that dress, because he doesn't want to remember the bad memories of when she faked her death. That's what he doesn't want. So, I thought that was definitely really sad and really interesting as well. So the next day, after going to New York and coming back to Rosewood, the girls can, Spencer, Aria, Hanna, and Emily can finally go back to Rosewood High, and they sit down with the principal, and he asks that they keep the disruptions to a minimum. And basically, he doesn't want them to, because of, press and things like that, he doesn't want them to get involved, because he's worried that if they get involved, then something bad's going to happen to them, and he doesn't want to be responsible for that, which I can understand. They head to class, and Emily wishes that she never came back to school. They're worried about Mona, Noel, or Ezra may blab to the police that Allie wasn't really kidnapped. So Hannah and Emily are convinced that Jason killed his mom and is the same person that hit Allie over the head, and Spencer refuses to believe it. So Mona tracks down Aria. Now, Mona, again, very, very creepy this season, and even creepier in this episode. I mean, seriously, Mona is she's acting like fucking Mother Teresa, but she's not that at all. She's, really creepy, actually. So, she wants Aria to sign this get-well card for Ezra, and Aria is shocked to hear that Ezra's back in Rosewood and recuperating. And my question is, how do you know this, Mona? How do you know that Ezra's back in Rosewood? How do you know this? Why is no one questioning why Mona knows this? I think it's because they don't think of it right now, but I'm pretty sure that Mona's the one that knocked out, that hurt Ezra. I'm pretty sure it was Mona. I don't know why. I'm pretty sure she shot Ezra, and I talked about this before, but I think it was her. So, Emily then runs into Paige in the hallway and tries to tell her that she's sorry about what happened to Allie. And Emily blows her off. She heads to her locker, finds a girl staring at her, and she calls her out and asks her why she's following her. And the girl introduced herself as Sydney. Now, this girl, Sydney, I know her from the movie Camp Rock 2. She is played by Chloe Bridges. Very good actress. I think she's a very good actress, and I'm glad she's on the show. So, she asks her to watch her in the pool and give her a few pointers, even though she isn't on the team anymore. So Spencer is watching the De Laurentiis' house out the window, and Mellisa teases her that they might throw a rock at her if they catch her. And Spencer asks Mellisa if she thinks that Jason killed his mom, and Mellisa does. Mellisa threatens Spencer to stay away from the De Laurentiis family and says she wishes Spencer left Allie where she found her. So, after school, Hanna gives Allie a ride to the funeral home. The director asks her to come pick up the visitation book from the funeral, and Allie sees a painting on the wall of a woman in water. Runs into the bathroom. The funeral director comes in, mistakes Hanna for Allie, and that's a pretty big thing this episode, is that Hanna, as we know, has blonde hair just like Allie, and she's very, you can really tell that, you can't really tell the difference between Hanna and Allie. So, then we get a really big flashback, which is really big. We find out that, about 2 months after Allie went missing, Mona actually took her under her wing and told her she wouldn't teach her the secret to being unforgettable, which is really big, because as we know, Hanna and Mona just became really good friends before they found out that Mona was A. But before that, Mona and Hanna were actually very good friends, and now we know why, because of her wanting to take her under her wing, basically. So, Spencer's dad catches her looking at the hole in the backyard where Mrs. DeLaurentis is buried, and Spencer's dad says they are thinking about selling the house regardless of whether or not they move out. He says they're done with the DeLaurentis family. They just don't want to hear about it anymore. They don't want to hear about Allie. They don't want to hear about Miss DeLaurentis, Mr. DeLaurentis, none of them. They just want them to shut up about it. And Spencer tries to remind him that Jason is actually part of his family too, which is true. They're half brother or something. So Arya then pays Ezra a visit at his apartment. She's really not sure how he is back. She wants to know what's going on here. And pretty much what ends up happening is he says he knows he promised he wouldn't come back to Rosewood, but he doesn't really have anywhere else to go. And Ezra says he heard that Allie lied and said she was kidnapped, and he heard Mrs. DeLaurentis was murdered. He doesn't think that there is any way that Shauna murdered Allie's mom, though, because she was in New York when it happened, and he has no idea that Shauna's dead, and he warned Arya to watch out for her. As we know, Arya did not tell him that Shauna is dead, so he pretty much thinks Shauna's still alive, but he's trying to figure out how could Shauna be the one to murder Allie's mom, because he's thinking that Shauna was A, basically. But as we know, there is no A anymore. Well, there could be. I think it's Mona. And Emily's then working with Sydney in the locker room and discussing her stroke per minute, and Paige tries to join them, but it becomes super awkward and Emily storms out. So Ari meets up with Allie and tells her that Ezra is not going to spill her secret about not being kidnapped, because, they had to make sure that Ezra wasn't going to, say that, oh, I know that, Allie wasn't kidnapped, I know that it wasn't that, but he's not going to spill her secret, that he's on their side. She does warn her, though, that Ezra has no idea that Sean is dead, so basically don't bring it up. She's basically saying, okay, he doesn't know Sean is dead, do not bring it up to him. Do not bring it up to him, because if you do, he's not going to know what you're talking about. So she hands over the manuscript to the book Ezra wrote about Allie, and she leaves. So Hanna and Emily sneak off to the building in Philadelphia, where they followed Jason to the other day. They find the homeless-looking guy named Arnie, of course. If you remember, they went to that house at the end of the last episode. They went to that house, and that guy was banging on the door, and we don't know who he was. Turns out it's a guy named Arnie, who is this homeless guy, and it's really creepy because they're questioning him about why Jason came to the building. And they learn that the abandoned building is a dry house where Jason went to get sober. Because as we know, Jason has alcohol problems. So Spencer finds Jason in his house packing his bags, and he says he's leaving because he thinks his house is haunted and is messing with his mind seeing Allie around the house. And Spencer shows Jason the email that Jessica sent the night she died, saying, I can't protect you anymore, and Spencer speculates that his mom was killed by whoever she couldn't protect anymore. So there's someone that she couldn't protect anymore, and because of that, they then betrayed her and killed her. That's what Spencer's thinking. And Jason warns Spencer to just cut her loose losses and get out while she still can. And before he leaves, he reminds Spencer not to trust her father. So Jason's gone. I guess we're going to see him for a little bit. But, yeah. So then what happens is, alright, what happens after that? Okay, Allie then pays Ezra a visit and tells him that she's glad he didn't die, because, she's glad he didn't die, and she goes, and she gives him back his manuscripts and tells him that she knows there's more information from all of, the watching and listening to that he did. He says if there's any info he is saving to help Arya, Allie teases that he should keep the info safe. So Hannah and Emily then head to the cafe in Rosewood, and I kind of like that they're kind of like working together to be like detectives, sort of. They're just sort of trying to figure out what's going on. I kind of like this about the show. Hannah sees Mona, and she calls her out. She wants to know why Mona took her to Glamour Boot Camp and tried to turn her into Allie. And Mona says that she should be thankful she changed her. I mean, at first, Hannah used to have dark hair. As we know, she had dark hair, and she wasn't blonde before. But, Mona took her there and changed her look and everything. So Hannah's kind of upset about that. So Spencer then fills Arya in on Jason's alibi, and that Jason thinks that she shouldn't trust her dad, and Spencer thinks that there's a chance that Kenneth could have killed Mrs. De Laurentiis because he thought he was covering up for Spencer. That does make sense, sort of, because Kenneth does seem like the kind of person that would do that. So it could be Kenneth that did it, but I'm still pretty sure it's Mona that did it, because Mona knows way more than she should about a lot of things, and I'm pretty sure it's Mona. I don't care. I'm pretty sure that this is Mona. It just seems like it is. So then we see Allie. She's walking down the street in the dark, and she runs into Mr. Hastings, and he can't believe she's out alone at night after what just happened, and he wants to give her a ride home to make sure she's safe. So he wants to protect her and everything, and that was a pretty big scene there. So Emily arrives home, and she finds Paige sitting on her porch waiting for her. She tells Paige that they're done, and maybe someday they'll be friends. Honestly, I'm glad about this, because I don't care about Emily and Paige. I don't give two shits about anything that they go through. And I'm glad that she ended her relationship with her, because she realized that it's not going to work as well. And Paige pleads that she loves Emily and turns to leave. Emily tries to comfort her and tells her she deserves the best, but Paige doesn't want to hear it. She's tired of Emily saying, look, you're the best and everything, and I really do care about you. She's tired of it. She's tired of Emily constantly saying those sort of things to her. She's just tired of it. So Spencer's dad then returns home, and Spencer shows him the email that says, I can't protect you anymore. And he folds the paper up. Melissa then storms in, tells Spencer to leave their dad alone. She takes the email from her dad, tears it up. Mr. Hastings tells them both to stop arguing. He doesn't want any more friendly fire. And Melissa tells her dad that maybe they should tell Spencer the truth. And Mr. Hastings shuts her down and tells Spencer to go upstairs. Which, of course, we know, again, we still don't know what Melissa said to her dad. Like, as we know she whispered something in his ear, and they're still not telling us what she said, and I kind of like that they're still not telling us, because it's just very mysterious at this point. They're not telling us what she said, and it's very interesting that they're not really telling us what she said, so I'm interested in finding out, what did she say to her dad? It's that simple. What did she say to him? I want to know. But yeah, that was a pretty big scene, and then the very last two scenes are really, really big. I'm really interested in seeing where the last two scenes are going to go. Arya heads back to Ezra's apartment. She knows that Allie was going to show up, and she harasses him about after she gave him the book. And Arya confesses to him that she killed Shauna in New York City. Honestly, this was the right thing to do. She had to tell him the truth, and she decides to tell him the truth, that she killed Shauna in New York City after she left the hospital, and Ezra doesn't seem shocked or upset. He just asks, what can he do to help? But now, honestly, I think that was the right thing to do, because, as we know, Ezra's a good guy. He was completely in the dark about this. He had no idea what Arya was talking about. For her to do that, I think that was the right thing to do, in my opinion. If I was Arya, I probably would have done the same thing, because I could have had a big target on my back unless I did it, and Arya's not going to have a target on her back now, so everything's okay now with Arya, it seems. So yeah, that was quite good. I really did enjoy that about the episode. And then the very last scene, very, very big, Hanna decides it is time for a change, because she's tired of the blonde hair, heads to the hair salon. But little does she know, Mona and somebody else who we don't know, it looked like Allie, but I don't think it was Allie, they're watching through a foggy window, and Hannah's going to go back to being a brunette. So that was the episode, and overall, I really enjoyed this episode. I thought it was probably the best of the 3 episodes so far. It was really sad with Allie. I mean, very, very sad stuff with her. Arya telling Ezra. Now, let's talk about some predictions now. Alright. So as we know, Allie is, completely grieving about Mrs. De Laurentiis and everything. What do I think is going to happen with Allie? Everyone seems to be on Allie's side at this point. Everyone really wants to help Allie. But do you think Allie might actually have a clue to something that we don't know about? I really don't know. I feel like Allie might know more than we do. Because it seems like, Ali was devastated about this, and she was really, really upset. Plus, Miss DeLaurentis is her own mother, so maybe Ali kind of has a clue about why this all occurred. So, I don't know, maybe we'll have to see. Mona. I do not trust Mona at all at this point. She was very mean to Hanna. She is harassing Hanna now. She knows way too much about Ezra. Like, what is going on with Mona? Do you think that Mona is the one that shot Ezra? I'm pretty sure she did. And the thing with Mona is that, why wouldn't she do it? I mean, we've seen Mona do pretty crazy things before. This would just be another thing added to the list. It really would. It wouldn't seem unfathomable because she's done things like this before. Now, if she wasn't like that, I'd say, okay, that doesn't really make sense. However, because she's done things before, it makes perfect sense that she'd do something like that. It really does. As far as Emily goes, are you happy her and Paige are over? Honestly, I am, because I always was very bored by her plot last year. I was never into it. I was never into her and Paige's relationship. I just didn't care about it. This show is not really a show for relationships, in my opinion. Like, Ari and Ezra, fine. That's fine, but like, all the other relationships last season was boring. Every person had a relationship storyline. That's not how it is this season. In fact, we didn't even see Toby in this episode, which I'm kind of happy about, because the season's all about less about relationships, less about their drama, and more about Ali. And I really do love that about this show. That's what I'm saying. I really do love it. Now, they know that Ezra is now on their side. But what about Noelle and, there were 3 people they mentioned. And who are those 3 people again? Let me find it. Okay. It was Noelle, and Mona. Of course, Mona we can't trust, but they don't know about Noelle yet. Nothing's happened with Noelle, so are they going to try to get Noelle on their side next week? I'm pretty sure that's where they're going, because they don't want Ali to be exposed to anyone. They don't want Ali's, fake kidnapping to be, taken to Detective Holbrook, and then he'll get her in, like, big, big trouble if that happens. So that's not going to be good at all if that happens in the long run. But, I thought this was another really great episode. Also, Hanna changing her look, I don't know how this is going to go. It looks like the next episode's going to be really, really crazy, and, like, focused on, like, the craziness of Mona. And I really don't trust Mona at this point. I don't. And also, is Jason gone for good? I don't think Jason's gone for good. I think Jason, yes, he had to leave. It was the best thing for him to do, but I don't think he's gone for good. I think there's something more to this. I don't think he actually is leaving because he's seeing Ali and he thinks she's a ghost and everything. I don't think that's what it is. I think it's just that he is, just kind of needs to get away, or he really is crazy. We'll have to see. But that's in my review. I hope you enjoyed it. Overall, I love this episode. I thought it was a really great episode. It was probably the best episode of the season, and I really, really enjoyed it. That's in my review. And also, I love the flashbacks in the episode. I didn't expect this episode to have many flashbacks as it did, but it did. And that's in my review. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be my review for the series premiere of Tyrant. So I'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.